Say tricks.
So, I've been listening to this song a lot lately called Houdini by Dua Lipa, where she sings about how fleeting she can be. I come and I go Houdini, and it made me want to make an invis stripper titan. Well, I don't know. Maybe she isn't a stripper, but she does look kind of trashy. Not that being a stripper is inherently trashy or anything. For our super, we are running Sentinel Shield, so we could choose between offense or defense as the moment calls for it. If we use it for defense, any allies standing behind our shield will slow the drain of our super depending upon how many are behind us. While standing behind us, they will also gain a 40% boost to damage, 50 points to handling, and 50 points to reload speed. Towering Barricade is probably a better option for the build since honestly, the Rally Barricade is easy for PvP players to still shoot over, but I went with the Rally Barricade so I could give my team overshields more often. Our Barricade will give our allies a 45 HP overshield when cast because of Bastion. It will also generate 10 overshield per second while standing behind the Barricade. Bastion will also grant allies within 15 meters a void overshield when we cast our supers. For our melee, we are using Shield Throw since it can be used over larger distances. It can ricochet up to 3 times and will grant us 15 overshield per hit. The Magnetic Grenade will stick itself to targets and explodes twice. It is great for cleanup and deals 473 damage per explosion in PvE and 75 in PvP. It also has one of the shortest cooldowns at 105 seconds. Offensive Bulwark will boost our grenade regen by 400% while we have overshields. It also boosts our melee damage by 100% and increases our melee lunge distance by about 5 meters, or roughly the same distance covered by one vortex grenade. Furthermore, getting melee kills will extend the duration of our overshields by 6 seconds up to a maximum of 20. To further increase our tankiness, we will be using Echo of Starvation to grant us Devour for 10 seconds whenever we pick up an orb or a void breach. Activating Devour restores 100 HP instantly. Kills while Devour is active will also trigger 100 HP while also granting some grenade energy depending on the enemy tier, and extend the duration of our Devour debuff by 5 seconds up to our maximum of 10. Echo of Leeching will also trigger our health regeneration whenever we get a melee kill. This effect applies to ourselves and our allies. It does not grant us a health bump, it just causes our health to begin regenerating, similar to the Better Already armor mod for our legs. Echo of Exchange will grant us grenade energy on melee kills depending upon the tier of enemy killed. Echo of Persistence increases the duration of our void buffs by 50%. In our case, that means by default, our invisibility will last 9 seconds instead of 6, and our overshields will last 15 seconds instead of 10. You may be wondering where the invisibility is coming from in our build, and that would be from the Rat King exotic sidearm. If you reload the Rat King within 3 seconds after getting a kill, it will grant void invisibility for 6 seconds, but as stated a moment ago, this gets boosted to 9 seconds from Echo of Persistence. If you can convince your allies to also use Rat King, then being within 20 meters of each other will grant a stack of Rat Pack up to a max of 5 stacks. Rat Pack will boost your rate of fire as well as your magazine size depending on how many stacks you have. If you have the Infestation Catalyst, then you will receive a passive 20-point boost to both your aim assist and your recoil direction. The catalyst will also trigger your health regen when you reload within 6 seconds after getting a kill with your Rat King. Our exotic armor will be the Precious Scars exotic helmet. While Rat King plays into our invisibility fantasy, Precious Scars plays into the overshields. When we revive an ally, or an ally revives us, Precious Scars will grant us and any ally within 15 meters a 100 HP overshield for 10 seconds. Precious Scars will mark the area of effect for the user. If an ally leaves this area, then they will lose the overshield. They will also lose their overshield if we lose our overshield by having it depleted by taking damage. On top of our overshield, if we get a kill with a weapon matching our subclass, in this case that would be a void weapon, then Precious Scars will grant us and our allies 1 stack of restoration for 3 seconds. which means for those 3 seconds, we all gain 35 health per second. For legendary weapons, I ran a Nessa's Oblation Void Shotgun with destabilizing rounds and repulsor brace. The more important perk is repulsor brace for the void overshield it generates when we defeat targets that have been affected by a void debuff. Then, for my heavy, I ran Chivalric Fire, which also had destabilizing rounds and repulsor brace. These weapons worked in most situations for me, but this is admittedly a very close range setup, so feel free to swap these out for something with some range, but try to make sure you at least have repulsor brace on your special weapon. For armor stats, I maxed out resilience and then tried to balance my discipline and intellect as best as I could. You could shift some points from discipline to recovery to boost survivability, but honestly this build is already overloaded with it. But our fragments and mods will be boosting our ability regen so much that there is a lot of flexibility when it comes to stat spread outside of resilience. For our helmet, we have 1 kinetic siphon, so our Rat King will print orbs while making us invisible. Then we have 1 ashes to assets and 1 hands-on to give us extra super energy when we get grenade and melee kills respectively. On our arms, we have 1 fastball to boost our throw distance for our grenades, then 1 firepower and 1 heavy-handed, so our grenade and melee kills will generate an orb once every 10 seconds. This cooldown is not shared between the 2 mods. Our chest will have 1 harmonic reserves to boost our void weapon ammo reserves, and 1 charged up mod so that we get 4 stacks of armor charge to make our total armor charge uptime equal 40 seconds. I went crazy on the legs with 3 copies of Absolution so that each orb we pick up will grant 10% to all of our abilities. I usually don't go this hard on a leg mod, but I was focusing heavy on ability uptime for PvP. This did actually still work out very well in PvE, but there were some instances, such as during raids, where I swapped some or all of my absolutions for surge mods to boost my damage during boss phases. On the class item, we have 1 bomber for 10% grenade energy whenever we cast our barricade, 1 powerful attraction to grab orbs within 15 meters when casting barricade, and then I slotted 1 font of restoration to make use of our armor charge, and because my setup only had 30 recovery. So by using this mod, whenever I have armor charge, I effectively had 60 recovery to further boost the survivability of the build. There isn't anything crazy for rotations when it comes to boss phases. You will start by using your heavy attack with your sword and then light attacking until your heavy attack is ready again. If you run out of heavy ammo, then switch to your shotgun and aim for precision hits since we are running a slug shotgun. You can pepper in abilities as they become available, but they won't be a large part of your damage rotation. If your team doesn't have a well, you could boost your fire team's damage by casting your super and then holding block to boost their damage output by 40%. For regular combat, you will use your slug shotgun when available to generate overshield, then spam grenades and melee as needed. If your shotgun is running low or you need to lie low for a bit, then get some kills with your Rat King and reload to proc your invisibility, then just disappear until you are ready to fight again. I highly recommend trying this build out in PvP. It is a great build in PvE also, but it really puts in some work in game modes like Countdown. Thanks for watching. Have a good one, y'all.